My wife told me to teach you a lesson, so no gifts. My son's words echoed in the dining room while I held the keys to the brand new car I had just given him. Jessica. My daughter-in-law stood next to him with that poisonous smile I will never forget. I had just prepared the perfect Christmas dinner. I had just handed him a car that cost me years of savings. I had just given her a designer handbag worth over $1,500, and this was what I received in return. Humiliation, contempt, betrayal. But what they did not know was that I had prepared something else. I pulled an envelope out of my purse, smiled calmly, and said, "Perfect. Then I have an extra gift for you." In that moment, my life changed forever. Let's go back 3 months. My name is Evelyn. I am 66 years old, and all my life I believed that being a good mother was enough. I believed that sacrifices would always be valued, and that unconditional love was reciprocal. I have lived alone since my husband died 7 years ago, in a modest house, but one full of memories and photographs of Michael, my only son. After becoming a widow, I worked as a seamstress until I retired 2 years ago. Every dollar I earned was with him in mind. Michael was my pride, my reason for existing. When he married Jessica 3 years ago, I thought I would finally have the complete family I always dreamed of. At first, Jessica seemed perfect. She was polite, smiling, and always had kind words. She came to visit me with Michael, helped me in the kitchen, and praised my recipes. I was happy and excited about having a daughter-in-law and the possibility of having grandchildren someday. But as the saying goes, not everything that glitters is gold, and Jessica glittered too much. The first changes were subtle, so small that I almost ignored them, comments disguised as concern. "Evelyn, do not you think this house is too big for you alone? It must be exhausting to keep it clean." Or when I made food for them, she would say it is tasty, but I make it a little different, more modern, less heavy. Always with that smile, always with that sweet tone that made it difficult to identify the poison behind every word. Michael began to change too. Before, he used to call me 3 times a week, spend Sundays with me, and tell me everything about his job as an engineer. But after getting married, the calls became bi-weekly, then monthly. The Sunday visits disappeared. When I asked if I could visit them, there was always an excuse. "We are busy, Mom. Jessica does not feel well. We have plans." I tried not to be that meddling mother-in-law, that possessive mother everyone talks about. So I waited. I waited for them to look for me. One day in September, I decided to visit them without warning. I brought an apple pie I had baked that morning, Michael's favorite since he was a child. I rang the doorbell of their apartment with excitement, imagining the surprise on their faces. Jessica opened the door. She did not smile. She looked me up and down with those cold eyes I was starting to know too well. "Evelyn, what a surprise. We did not know you were coming." Her voice was flat, without warmth. "I wanted to surprise you. I made the pie that Michael loves." She took the pie without inviting me in. She stood in the doorway, blocking the entrance. "Michael is working. I was about to go out. Maybe next time you could let us know beforehand." "Of course," I just thought. "It is just that you invade our space a little. You know young couples need privacy. They cannot have their mother-in-law showing up all the time." She smiled, but there was no kindness in that smile. "Thanks for the pie. We will call you." She closed the door in my face. I stood in the hallway, feeling the tears beginning to form in my eyes. Invading their space. All the time, I barely saw them once a month. I went back home feeling small, ashamed, and confused. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was the problem. That night, Michael called me. "Mom, Jessica told me you stopped by today. Thanks for the pie. It was delicious. But she is right. It would be better if you let us know before coming. We have our routine, you understand." "Yes, son. I am very sorry. It will not happen again. Do not apologize so much. Just let us know next time." He hung up quickly. I sat in my empty living room looking at Michael's photographs on the walls. When had he become so cold? When did I stop being important to him? I decided to make a greater effort. Maybe if I was a better mother-in-law, if I respected their boundaries more, if I tried harder, things would improve. October arrived with its crisp air and falling leaves. I decided to invite them to dinner, giving 2 weeks' notice, doing everything exactly as Jessica preferred. I cleaned the house until it sparkled, bought expensive ingredients, and prepared a menu I found on the internet, more modern and light like she liked. I set the table with my good plates, the ones I reserved for special occasions. When they arrived, Jessica inspected everything with that critical gaze that made me nervous. "What a nice table, Evelyn, although those tablecloths look a bit old, do not they? In the stores there are lovely ones with more current colors." I served the dinner that had taken me hours to prepare. Herb chicken, roasted vegetables, fresh salad. Jessica tried a bite and frowned slightly. "It is okay. A little dry, the chicken, but it is okay." Michael said nothing. He ate in silence, looking at his phone. I tried to make conversation. "How is work, son? Fine, Mom." He did not look up. "And you, Jessica? How is your job at the boutique? Busy?" "You know, I sell exclusive brand handbags. Today I sold one for $3,000. Not just anyone can buy what I sell." She looked at me intentionally. "They are for people with a certain level." I swallowed hard. The message was clear. I did not have that level. I was the retired seamstress with old tablecloths and dry chicken. After dinner, while I was serving coffee, I heard Jessica whisper something to Michael in the living room. I approached with the coffee pot and managed to hear, "Too big for her alone." "We are paying rent when your mother has a house. It makes no sense." Michael murmured something I did not understand. Jessica continued, "You should talk to her. It is your inheritance anyway. Why wait?" My blood froze. Did they want my house? Was that why she made comments about it being too big for me? I entered the living room pretending I had not heard anything. "Coffee." "No thanks, Evelyn. We are leaving now. Michael has to work early tomorrow." Jessica stood up quickly, grabbed her designer bag, and headed to the door. Michael gave me a quick peck on the cheek. "Thanks for the dinner, Mom. Will you come for Christmas?" I asked, desperate to have something to look forward to. "We will see. We will let you know." And they left. I stayed alone in my house that was too big, surrounded by dirty dishes and broken dreams. The days following that dinner were a silent torture. I could not stop thinking about what I had heard. "It is your inheritance anyway, why wait?" Jessica's words spun in my head like a broken record. My house. The house my husband and I bought 30 years ago, where we raised Michael, where every corner held memories of laughter, birthdays, and hugs. And now my daughter-in-law saw it as an asset they should claim. I tried to rationalize. Maybe I had misunderstood. Maybe Jessica was just worried about my well-being, about whether it was too much work to maintain the house. But deep down, I knew the truth. I knew that calculating look, that tone she used when talking about money and possessions. To her, I was not a mother-in-law. I was an obstacle between her and what she wanted. A week later, Michael called me. My heart jumped with joy seeing his name on the screen. How pathetic, right? A 66-year-old mother getting excited because her son calls her. "Hi, Mom, how are you?" "Good, son. What a joy to hear you. Look, I wanted to talk to you about something important." He paused. My stomach tightened. "Jessica and I have been thinking. We are paying $900 in rent every month. It is a lot of money going to waste. And you are alone in that big house with so many empty rooms, stairs to keep clean, a garden to take care of. It must be exhausting for you." There it was, the start of the conversation I had feared. "It is not that hard, son. I manage the house well. But Mom, you are 66 years old. You are not getting any younger. Jessica and I think it would be good for you to consider moving to something smaller, more manageable. A one-bedroom apartment without stairs, without maintenance. And we could keep the house. That way we would save that rent and you would be more comfortable." I felt as if I'd been punched in the stomach. "You want me to leave my house? Do not look at it that way. Think about your comfort. Besides, the house will eventually be mine anyway. It is my inheritance. We are just speeding up the inevitable. And do not worry, we will help you find a nice apartment. We could even give you some money for the move. Some money. For the house where I spent 30 years of my life. Michael, this house is in my name. Your father and I paid for it for 25 years. I do not plan to leave it." His tone changed. It became cold. "Do not be selfish, Mom. Jessica and I are building a future. We need that house more than you. What are you going to do with 4 bedrooms? Stare at empty walls while we throw money away on rent?" Selfish. He called me selfish. My son. The boy I raised alone after his father died, the one I paid for college by working double shifts, the one who never lacked anything. I am not going to discuss this now, I said with my voice trembling. Goodbye, Michael. I hung up before he could hear me cry. I let myself fall onto the sofa and cried like I had not done since my husband's funeral. How had it reached this point? How had my son, my Michael, turned into this? During the next few weeks, the messages and calls continued, but they were no longer out of affection or genuine concern. They were constant pressure. Jessica started sending me links to apartments for sale. Look at this one, Evelyn. Perfect for you. 1 bedroom, close to the supermarket, and only $120,000. With what we give you for the house, it will be enough. With what they gave me, my house was worth at least $350,000. Did they plan to give me $120,000 and keep the rest? Michael went from polite calls to direct demands. Mom, this is ridiculous. Jessica and I need that house. Stop being so stubborn. One day in November, he showed up at my door with Jessica. They had not called. They entered without me really inviting them, and Jessica began to walk through the house as if it were hers, looking at the rooms, measuring with her eyes, planning. This room would be perfect for my office, she said, pointing to the room that had been Michael's as a child. And here we could put a gym. Evelyn, you are really wasting this space. This is my house, I said, trying to keep calm. For now, Jessica replied with that smile. But things change. Older people eventually need simpler spaces. It is the nature of life. I am not as old as you think. Of course not. Her tone was condescending, as if speaking to a child. But you are not young either, and Michael is your only son. Do not you want the best for him? Do not you want him to have a dignified home instead of throwing money away on rent? He has a home, the apartment where you live. A rented apartment is not a home. This, she pointed around, this is a home, and it should be ours. Michael said nothing. He stood there looking at the floor, letting his wife attack me. The boy I defended from bullies at school, who ran to my arms when he had nightmares, now could not defend me from his own wife. After they left, something inside me broke, but not in the way they expected. I did not break into sadness and submission. I broke into clarity. For the first time in months, I saw the situation with absolute sharpness. My daughter-in-law was a manipulator who had poisoned my son against me. And Michael, my dear Michael, was too weak or too blind to see it. But I was not weak. And I was not blind. That night I took out all the documents for the house, deeds, appraisals, tax payments. I studied them carefully. The house was completely paid off. In my name. Legally, it was mine. But I knew that would not stop Jessica. She would keep pressing, manipulating, poisoning Michael until I gave in from exhaustion or guilt. I was not going to allow it. I started paying more attention. In the few visits they made, I no longer focused on being the perfect hostess. I watched them, and I started noticing strange things. Jessica checked her phone constantly, smiled at messages she quickly hid when Michael looked. She stepped out to take work calls that lasted 15 or 20 minutes. Once I heard her laughing outside, a flirtatious laugh she did not use with my son. Michael seemed to notice nothing. Or he did not want to notice. He was too busy working, too absorbed in Jessica's plans for the house, too distant from everything else. One Saturday afternoon, I invited them for coffee. Jessica arrived in a tight coral dress and high heels, too dressed up for a simple visit to her mother-in-law. Her phone vibrated during coffee. She looked at it and smiled. "Excuse me, it is work. I must answer." She went out to the garden. I got up with the excuse of getting more sugar. From the kitchen window I saw her. She was leaning against the tree in the garden, playing with her hair, laughing in that way. It was not a work call. No work call causes that sparkle in the eyes, that soft and seductive laugh. Michael was in the living room checking his computer, oblivious to everything. When Jessica returned, her cheeks were flushed. "It was my boss. She wants me to work on Sunday." Liar. That night after they left, I made a decision. I needed to know the truth. I needed proof. Because I had the horrible suspicion that my daughter-in-law was not only stealing my son and coveting my house. She was betraying Michael in the worst possible way. And if I was going to protect myself, if I was going to protect what was mine, I needed to know exactly who I was dealing with. The next day I searched the internet and found the number of a private investigator, a Mr. Hank Miller with good references and reasonable rates. I called with trembling hands. "I need you to investigate someone," I said, when he answered. "I think she is cheating on my son." Hank Miller had a calm and professional voice that gave me some peace amidst the chaos that was my life at that moment. We met at a discreet coffee shop on the other side of town, far from where anyone I knew could see me. He was a man in his 50s with gray hair and a look that had seen too much of human nature to be surprised by anything. "Tell me everything," he said, taking out a notebook. I told him about Jessica, the mysterious calls, the sudden exits, the way she dressed up too much for certain occasions. I told him about how she manipulated Michael, how she was pushing me away from my own son, how they wanted to take my house. Hank listened without interrupting, taking notes occasionally. "How long have you been noticing these behaviors? A month, maybe 2. But the manipulation started longer ago, since they got married. I understand. I need you to provide me with all the information you have about her. Full name, place of work, routines, schedules, photographs if you have them." I gave him everything I knew. Jessica Fernandez, 32 years old, worked at a luxury boutique downtown, left work at 6 in the evening on weekdays. I showed him photographs from my phone of family gatherings and dinners. My fees are $800 a week plus expenses. Generally, these cases take between 2 and 3 weeks to obtain solid evidence. It was a lot of money, almost half my monthly pension. But I needed to know the truth. "Go ahead." Hank began his work the next day. He reported to me every 3 days with updates. The first reports were routine. Jessica went to work, left at the indicated time, sometimes met friends for coffee. Nothing out of the ordinary. I started to think that maybe I was wrong, that my distrust was a product of my resentment towards her. But then came the report on the 10th day. "Mrs. Evelyn, I need to see you. I have information." His tone was serious. We met at the same coffee shop. Hank pulled out a manila envelope and slid it across the table toward me. My hands trembled as I took it. "Before you open it, I want to warn you that the content is disturbing. If you prefer, I can simply tell you what I found." "No, I need to see it." I opened the envelope. Inside were photographs. The first one showed Jessica leaving a hotel. Not just any hotel, one of those expensive downtown hotels where rooms cost $300 a night. She was wearing large sunglasses and looking around as if checking that no one saw her. The next photograph showed a man leaving the same hotel 15 minutes later. Tall, well-dressed, about 45 years old, with a shiny Rolex on his wrist. "His name is Adrian Stone," explained Hank. "Businessman, owner of 3 luxury car dealerships. Married, 2 children. His wife has no idea." There were more photographs. Jessica and Adrian entering expensive restaurants, holding hands in the parking lot of a mall, kissing inside a car. Every image was a stab in my heart. Not for me, but for Michael, my son, working late to give a good life to this woman, while she betrayed him with someone who probably bought her the expensive things she loved so much. "There is more," said Hank, taking out another set of papers. I managed to access some records. That hotel. They had been going there every Wednesday for the last 4 months. Always the same room, always paid for by him. I also tracked some expenses. "Look at this handbag." He showed me a photograph of Jessica carrying an emerald green handbag from a brand I could barely pronounce. It costs $4,500. It was bought by Adrian 2 months ago. These earrings, he pointed to another photo, $2,200. Gift from him. And this dress she is wearing in this photo on her social media profile, $3,800. I felt nauseous. Michael does not earn that much money. He is an engineer, he earns well, but not to buy things of that price. Exactly. She tells your son she works at a luxury boutique and gets discounts. But I checked with the store. They do not give that kind of discount even to their employees. Everything she is wearing that is worth over $1,000 comes from Adrian. There is more. Hank nodded and took out his phone. I managed to intercept some messages. I am not going to lie to you. It was complicated and technically in a legal gray area, but you need to see this. He showed me screenshots of conversations between Jessica and Adrian. I read them with growing horror. I cannot wait to get out of this. Michael is so boring, always working, never wants to do anything fun. Have patience, my love. Once you get his mother's house, we can sell it and you will have your share. Then you can leave him. His stupid mother does not want to let go of the house, but I am working on that. Michael is so manipulatable. Eventually, he will convince her. You are brilliant and beautiful. That fool does not know what he has. Soon he will have nothing. The house is worth $350,000. We will give $120,000 to the old lady to leave. The rest we split and I disappear. I will be able to open my own boutique like I always wanted. Tears ran down my face. I could not breathe. Everything had been a sham. The marriage, the feigned affection towards Michael, the pressure for my house. Everything was part of a plan to steal and destroy. There is something else, Hank said softly. According to what I could find out, Adrian has been giving her money monthly, around $2,000 each month for the last year. She tells Michael they are commissions from the boutique, but in reality, it is her lover who supports her. My son, I whispered. My poor son knows nothing. Mrs. Evelyn, I have to ask, what do you plan to do with this information? I dried my tears. A cold fury began to replace the pain. I am going to protect my son, and I am going to protect my house. Can you get me more evidence? Something definitive that cannot be denied. I can get videos. With your authorization, I can follow them next Wednesday and document everything. Do it, whatever it costs. I spent the next week in a kind of trance. Michael called me twice, pressuring me again about the house. Each time he was more insistent, harsher. Mom, enough games. We need an answer. Jessica is very stressed with this. It is affecting her health. How ironic Jessica was stressed. Michael, I want you to come to dinner on Christmas Eve. I have something important to tell you about the house. There was a pause. I could hear him consulting with Jessica in the background. You are going to sign the house over to us. We are going to talk about that. Come on Christmas Eve. I prepared something special. Okay, we will be there. The following Wednesday, Hank did his job. He sent me a message at the end of the day. I have it all. High-quality video. There is no way to deny it. We met that night. He showed me the video on his laptop. Jessica and Adrian entering the hotel holding hands, laughing. The images were sharp, professional. Then a video taken with a long-range camera of them in the hotel room curtains partially open. They were kissing passionately, taking off their clothes. I looked away. That is enough, I said. I also have this. He showed me more screenshots of messages, these more recent. The Christmas dinner is perfect. I think the old lady is going to give in. Michael says she finally agreed to talk about the subject. Excellent. Once she signs, we will take a vacation to celebrate. I have a resort in mind. I cannot wait to get rid of that boring man. I cannot stand him anymore. Every word was gasoline to the fire burning inside me. Hank, I need you to compile all of this into a report. Photographs, videos, screenshots, hotel payment records, everything. I want 2 printed copies and a USB drive. When do you need it? Before Christmas. You will have it. I spent the next few days planning. I was not only going to expose Jessica, I was going to do it in the most devastating way possible. But I also needed to protect my assets. I could not allow Michael in his pain or manipulation to try to claim something later. I contacted a lawyer, Mr. Leonard Vance, specialized in estate planning. I explained my situation without going into sordid details. I want to put my house in an irrevocable trust in my name. I want it to be impossible for anyone else to claim it while I live. That is possible. I can also add clauses that specify who it passes to after your death, and under what conditions. Mr. Leonard Vance worked quickly. In a week, all the documents were ready. My house was now in an irrevocable trust with my name as the sole lifetime beneficiary. After my death, it would pass to Michael, but with a specific clause. If he tried to claim it while I was alive, or if he tried to manipulate me legally to obtain it, he would automatically lose any right to it, and the property would be donated to a charity foundation. This protects you completely, explained Leonard. No one can force you to leave, sell, or transfer the property. Not even your son can do anything legally. And if he tries, he loses everything. Perfect. I also updated my will. Michael was still my heir, but only if he met certain conditions. Leonard assured me that everything was legal and armored. I signed every document with a steady hand. For the first time in months, I felt I had control over my life. Hank handed me the full report 3 days before Christmas. It was a thick folder with every piece of evidence organized chronologically. Photographs of Jessica and Adrian on different dates and locations, videos from the hotel, screenshots of complete conversations, bank transaction records showing Adrian's monthly payments to an account Jessica had hidden, receipts for expensive gifts, handbags, jewelry, clothes, everything paid for by him. He even had the record of the resort Adrian had booked for January, a luxury suite in the Bahamas, for 5 nights, $8,000 in both their names. "You have done an exceptional job," I told Hank while reviewing everything. "It is what I do. I am sorry you had to see this." "Do not be sorry. You gave me exactly what I needed to protect my son." "You are going to tell him, on Christmas Eve, in front of her." Hank whistled low. "That will be explosive. That is the point." The days leading up to Christmas I spent in a strange calm. I was not nervous. I was not sad. I was in a state of absolute determination. Every time I thought about Jessica's messages calling Michael boring, manipulatable, stupid, my resolve strengthened. She had not only hurt me, she had been destroying my son, systematically using him, stealing his dignity while planning to leave him with nothing. I prepared the Christmas dinner as if it were my last masterpiece. Roast turkey with herbs, creamy mashed potatoes, glazed vegetables, freshly baked bread, and a chocolate cake that was the house specialty. I set the table with my fine china plates, the ones I had inherited from my mother. Candles, elegant decorations, crystal glasses. Everything had to be perfect. I also prepared the gifts. For Michael, the keys to a new car, a silver sedan I had bought with my savings, $28,000 that represented years of economizing every penny of my pension. I had bought it thinking of giving my son something special, something that showed how much I loved him despite everything. The car was parked outside with a giant red bow. For Jessica, a designer handbag, one of those she loved so much, beige with the golden logo, $1,500. I had bought it with the money left from my savings. I wanted her to have a gift too, something expensive that she valued, because what would come next would be even more valuable. And in my purse I kept the envelope, the thick manila envelope with all the evidence, my true gift to them. The morning of December 24th dawned cold and clear. I got up early, dressed with care. I put on an elegant ivory dress, did my makeup, did my hair. I wanted to look dignified, strong, not like the pathetic old woman they thought I was. I checked every detail of the dinner. I verified that everything was in its place. The envelope was in my purse next to the door. Michael and Jessica arrived at 7 in the evening. She was wearing a tight coral dress and high heels with her hair down in perfect waves. Her nails were freshly done, her lips painted a dark shade. She was carrying one of the handbags Adrian had given her, although I doubted Michael knew its true origin. He came in casual pants and a shirt. He looked tired. He always looked tired lately. "Mom, you look so nice," said Michael, giving me a kiss on the cheek. "Thanks, son. Come in, come in." Jessica entered, looking around with that evaluating expression she always used. "Smells good. What did you prepare, turkey and all the sides? I hope you like it." "I am sure it is delicious," said Michael. We served dinner. They ate with appetite while I barely tasted a bite. My stomach was in a knot, but not from nerves. It was anticipation. They talked about Michael's work, about Jessica's boutique, about their plans for the new year. Jessica mentioned casually that she wanted to travel in January. "Where to?" I asked, knowing the answer perfectly. "Oh, maybe the Bahamas. I need a vacation. Work has been so stressful." She looked at me intentionally. "Especially with all the house stuff, it has been very difficult for me." "It must be exhausting," I said calmly. Michael looked at me anxiously. "Mom, have you thought about what we talked about the house?" "Yes, I have thought a lot. In fact, I want to talk about that. But first, the gifts." Jessica's eyes lit up. "Oh, how exciting." I got up and went to get the boxes. First, I gave the big one to Michael. "This is for you, son." He opened the box and took out the keys. "What is this?" "Go outside." We walked to the door. When Michael saw the car with the red bow, his jaw dropped. "Mom, what did you do? I bought you a car. I know yours is already 8 years old and gives trouble. This is new, reliable. For you." Michael hugged me. For a moment, I saw my real son, not the manipulated version Jessica had created. "Mom, this is too much. I cannot accept it. It is already done. It is yours." Jessica had approached, looking at the car with calculating eyes. She was probably already thinking about how much it was worth, that eventually it would be hers too. Back inside, I gave Jessica her box. "And this is for you." She opened the box with eager fingers. When she saw the handbag, her smile widened. "Oh, Evelyn, it is beautiful. Thank you." She sounded sincere, but I knew she was only happy because it was expensive. "I'm glad you like it." We sat back down at the table. Michael was still smiling, looking at the car keys. Jessica was caressing her new handbag. And then the moment arrived. "Well, now the gifts from you to me," I said with a light tone. The silence was immediate. Michael stopped smiling. Jessica stopped caressing the handbag. They looked at each other. Michael cleared his throat. "Mom, about that. Jessica and I talked and decided that this year we would not do gifts, what I pretended surprise." Jessica leaned forward with that condescending smile I hated so much. "Evelyn, we think you need to learn a lesson about giving without expectations. You are always giving things buying affection. It is unhealthy, so we decided not to give you anything this year. For your own good." "For my own good," I repeated slowly. "Yes," continued Michael, clearly repeating words she had planted. "You need to learn that love cannot be bought, that relationships are not based on material gifts. My wife told me to teach you a lesson, so no gifts." Jessica nodded with that satisfied smile. "It is for your good, really. When you learn this, our relationship will be healthier." I looked at them both. Michael looked uncomfortable but convinced. Jessica looked triumphant, as if she had just won something. She had just received a $1,500 handbag and was sitting there lecturing me about unconditional love. I stood up slowly, walked to where my purse was by the door. I took out the manila envelope. I held it in my hands for a moment, feeling its weight. Everything inside would change everything forever. There was no turning back. I returned to the table and placed the envelope in front of me. I smiled. "Perfect," I said with a calm voice. "If there are no gifts from you, then I have one more gift for you. One you are going to remember for the rest of your lives." The silence in the dining room was absolute. Michael looked at me confused. Jessica had that smile frozen on her face, but I saw a flash of concern in her eyes. She was smart, manipulative, and something in my tone had alerted her that this was not what she expected. "Another gift," Mom asked Michael, trying to sound casual, but clearly uncomfortable with the tension that suddenly filled the room. "Yes, son, a real gift. The gift of truth." I opened the envelope slowly, enjoying every second of anticipation. "You see, the last few weeks, I have been very busy, not only thinking about the house as you insisted, but investigating, learning fascinating things." Jessica stiffened. "Investigating what?" "To you, dear daughter-in-law." I pulled the first photograph out of the envelope and placed it on the table, turning it so both could see it. It was the image of Jessica entering the luxury hotel, looking over her shoulder, as if checking that no one saw her. Michael took the photo, frowning. "What is this?" "Your wife entering the Platinum Hotel on Wednesday, December 3rd. Do you recognize that hotel, son? It is the one that costs $300 a night. I wonder why your wife would be entering there a Wednesday at 3 in the afternoon. I can explain." Jessica began quickly. "I was visiting an important client. She was staying there and wanted to see products." "Ah, how convenient." I pulled out another photograph. Then this man who left the same hotel 15 minutes later was also a client, I suppose. The photo showed Adrian Stone with his expensive suit and shiny Rolex. Michael looked at the photos, his face going from confusion to concern. "Mom, what is this?" "You are making accusations." "I am not making accusations, son. I am showing facts." I pulled out more photographs, one after another, placing them on the table like poker cards. Jessica and Adrian holding hands in a parking lot, kissing inside a car, entering expensive restaurants together. Each image was more damning than the previous one. Jessica had turned pale. This is ridiculous. They are photos taken out of context. Michael, your mother is inventing things because she is resentful about the house. Taken out of context. I took out my phone and opened a video. Then this is also taken out of context. I pressed play. The video showed Jessica and Adrian in the hotel room. The long-range camera had captured perfectly through the partially open curtains. They were kissing passionately. He was taking off her dress. She was unbuttoning his shirt. Michael stood up abruptly with his face red. "Turn that off." I stopped the video. "As you wish. I have 3 more hours of similar content from different dates, but I understand you do not want to see it all." Michael looked at Jessica with wild eyes. "What the hell is this, Jessica?" "It is a lie, Michael. Your mother hired someone to create this to separate us. Do not you see? She is desperate because she knows we are going to take the house from her, create videos." I pulled out the screenshots of the messages. "I also created these messages between you and your lover." I began reading out loud. "I cannot wait to get out of this. Michael is so boring, always working, never wants to do anything fun." Michael snatched the papers from my hand, reading with eyes growing wider. I saw the exact moment his heart broke. His hands shook as he turned from one page to another. "Have patience, my love. Once you get his mother's house, we can sell it and you will have your share. Then you can leave him read out loud, his voice breaking. His stupid mother does not want to let go of the house. But I am working on that. Michael is so manipulatable. Eventually he will convince her. Michael, let me explain." Jessica tried to take his hand, but he pulled away sharply. "There is more," I said coldly. I pulled out the bank records. "This is Adrian Stone, businessman, owner of luxury car dealerships, married 2 children, and for the last year, he has been depositing $2,000 monthly into a secret account in your wife's name." Michael took the papers with trembling hands. $2,000 a month. She told you they were commissions from the boutique, right? I saw him nod slowly. "The boutique does not pay those commissions. I called and verified. That money comes from him. Her lover has been supporting her." I pulled out more receipts. "This green purse she is wearing in this photo, $4,500. Gift from Adrian. These earrings, $2,200. From him. This coral dress she is wearing right now, $3,800. Also from him. Everything she wears that is worth over $1,000 has been paid for by her lover, not with her money, nor with yours." Michael looked at Jessica as if seeing her for the first time. "All this time, you have been with another man. It is not what you think." Jessica tried, fake tears beginning to form. "Michael, your mother is lying. That account, that money, I can explain it. You can explain this too." I pulled out the last bomb, the travel itinerary. Honeymoon resort in the Bahamas, presidential suite, from January 10th to 15th. Booked and paid for by Adrian Stone, $8,000, in the name of Adrian Stone and Jessica Fernandez. I passed the paper to Michael. "The vacation you wanted so much in January, remember, it was not to rest from work stress. It was to be with him." Michael read the document, and something inside him broke visibly. He dropped into the chair, tears beginning to run down his face. "A year. You have been cheating on me for a whole year." "Michael, my love, please." Jessica tried to hug him, but he pulled away violently. "Do not touch me. Do not touch me again." Jessica changed tactics instantly. She turned to me with eyes full of hate. "This is your fault. You never accepted us. Always interfering, always judging me. What did you expect to happen? Michael works all the time. He never pays attention to me, always worried about pleasing you. Do not you dare blame my son for your infidelity," I said with a steely voice, "and definitely do not dare blame me. You made these decisions. You chose to cheat, lie, steal. Steal." Michael looked up. "What is she talking about, Mom?" "Oh, that is the best part." I pulled out more screenshots of messages. "Your dear wife and her lover had a plan. They were going to manipulate you into taking the house from me. According to their messages, they wanted to give me $120,000 to move to a small apartment. The house is worth $350,000. They were going to keep the rest, $230,000. Jessica planned to take her share, $115,000, and leave you. She was going to use that money to open her own boutique and start a new life with Adrian. Michael looked at me in disbelief. "Is that true? You are taking things out of context," screamed Jessica, losing her composure. "I was angry when I wrote that. I did not mean it. There are 16 different conversations over a period of 4 months where you discuss this plan in detail," I said firmly, "including one where you calculate exactly how much money you would need for the deposit on a boutique and how long the divorce would take." Michael stood up, walked to the window, looking out with slumped shoulders. The silence in the room was thick, suffocating. Jessica looked frantically between us, clearly calculating her next move. "Michael, love, please listen to me," she tried again with a soft, vulnerable voice. "Yes, I made mistakes. Yes, I let myself go. But it was because I felt alone, abandoned. You work so much you are never home. I needed attention, affection. Adrian was there when you were not." "So you blame me," said Michael without turning around. "I am not blaming you. I am just explaining. People make mistakes when they feel lonely. But I love you, Michael. We can get through this. We can go to therapy. Your mother is trying to destroy us because she cannot stand you being happy with me." "Happy?" Michael turned around sharply. "You called me manipulatable. You said I was boring. You planned to steal from my mother and leave me. I was angry when I wrote that. Words mean nothing. Words mean everything." Michael walked back to the table, picking up the photos, the messages, looking at them as if he could not believe they were real. A year, Jessica. A whole year of lies. Jessica saw that tears and pleas were not working. Her face hardened. "You know what? Fine. Yes, I was with Adrian. Yes, we planned to get the house. And you know why? Because I deserve it. I married you expecting a comfortable life, expecting that your mother would eventually give us something. But she is a selfish old woman who clings to her house while we pay rent. What did you expect me to do? Stay in that mediocre apartment forever?" Jessica's words hung in the air like poison. Michael looked at her as if she were a stranger, as if he had never really seen her until this moment. I remained seated calm, watching as the mask finally fell off completely. "So that is what I am to you," said Michael slowly, "a means to get money and comfort. You did not love me. You never loved me." Jessica crossed her arms, her face now showing pure contempt. "Love. What a naive word. Love does not pay the bills. Michael, love does not buy designer handbags or vacations at luxury resorts. I married you because I thought you had a future, that eventually we would have a good life. But you are so busy being the perfect son, so obsessed with being responsible and hardworking, that you never notice what really matters." "And what really matters?" asked Michael with a trembling voice. "Money, material things." "Yes, exactly that. We live in the real world, not in your fantasy where hard work and honesty are everything. Adrian understands. He knows how to treat a woman. He does not make me live in a rented apartment. He buys me what I want, takes me to beautiful places, makes me feel special. Because he is married and you are his mistress," I said coldly. "Because it is easy to be generous when you have a wife at home taking care of your children while you play with your new toy. You are not special to him, Jessica. You are an expensive hobby." Her eyes turned to me with pure hate. "You. All this is your fault. If you had handed over the house like you should have, none of this would have happened. But no, you had to be difficult. You had to cling to your stupid house and your pathetic memories. A selfish old woman who cannot let go of the past. My house," I said, standing up slowly, "is mine. I bought it with my husband after 25 years of payments. I kept it alone after he died. It is my home, my memories, my security, and I will never, ever give it to you." "It does not matter anymore?" spat Jessica. "Anyway, he was never going to stay with you forever. Michael would have eventually seen things my way. He always did. He is so easy to manipulate." Michael took a step back as if she had hit him physically. "Everything was manipulation. Every time you asked me for something, every conversation about my mother, every suggestion about the house. Obviously. Did you really think I cared about your boring engineering career or your problems at work?" I nodded and smiled because that is what you do. That is marriage, Michael. Pretending you care until you get what you want. Tears ran freely down my son's face now. Seeing his pain destroyed me, but I knew this was necessary. He needed to see who Jessica really was, without filters, without pretensions. Only then could he finally free himself from her. 3 years, whispered Michael. 3 years of my life with someone who never loved me, who saw me as a fool, who planned to steal from my mother and leave me. Oh, do not play the victim. Jessica rolled her eyes. You are no saint. You are boring, predictable, obsessed with pleasing your mother. Do you know how many times I had to feign interest in your conversations about engineering projects? How many dinners with your mother I had to endure, smiling while she judged me with those eyes? I never judged you, I said firmly. I welcomed you into my family with open arms. I treated you with respect and affection. Even tonight, I bought you an expensive gift because I wanted you to feel valued. Jessica looked at this handbag she had left on the table and let out a bitter laugh. $1,500. Adrian spends more than that on a dinner. This handbag is trash compared to what he gives me. Then give it back to me, I said, extending my hand. What? The handbag. If it is trash, give it back to me. You deserve nothing that comes from me or my son. Jessica looked at the handbag, then at me, her face twisted in fury. For a moment I thought she would throw it on the floor or hurl it against the wall, but her greed won. She took it and clutched it to her chest. It is mine. You gave it to me. How pathetic you are, I said with contempt. So much talk about Adrian and his generosity, but you cannot let go of something free. That is the truth about you, Jessica. You are a greedy opportunist who takes everything she can from anyone foolish enough to give it to her. Better an opportunist than a bitter old woman clinging to an empty house and a son who would never visit her if he did not feel obligated. Michael exploded. That is enough. Enough, Jessica. His voice boomed in the dining room. Do not ever speak to my mother like that again. Do not ever speak about her at all. Oh, now you defend her. Now that she has filled your head with her lies. Lies. Michael pointed to all the photos and documents scattered on the table. These are not lies. They are photos of you with your lover. They are messages from you planning to steal and abandon me. Everything is here in your own handwriting, in your own words. That does not change the fact that your mother is a manipulator. She has had you under her control all your life. Can you not see that she just wants to keep you close, keep me out? She never accepted me. I was always the outsider, the one who was not good enough. You were not good enough, I said with an icy voice, because you are a liar, a cheater, and a thief. Not because I had anything against you from the beginning. I received you with love, and you spit it back in my face. Jessica looked at me with narrowed eyes. You know I should have seen it coming. I should have known that a lonely, bored old woman would find a way to ruin everything. You probably did not even want Michael to be happy. You just wanted to keep him tied to you forever. My son deserves to be happy, I said firmly. That is why I am doing this, because he will never be happy with someone like you, someone who views him as a tool, as a means to an end. He deserves someone who truly loves him, not an actress who counts the days until she can rob him and leave him. You talk a lot about love, Jessica laughed humorlessly. But if you loved him so much, you would have given him the house when he asked for it. You would have made things easy for him. Instead, you clung to it as if it were more important than your own son. The house is not the point, intervened Michael, his voice hoarse from crying. I never should have pressured you for the house, Mom. I am so sorry. I see now that it was all her manipulation. It was all for her, not for us. Of course it was for me, Jessica turned to him. Because you never think big. You never have ambition for anything. You are happy with your mediocre engineering job and your mediocre rented apartment. I wanted more. I deserve more. Then go and get it, said Michael with a calm that surprised me. Go with Adrian. Live your life of luxury and superficiality. But not with me. Not anymore. Jessica blinked clearly, not expecting that response. What are you saying? I am saying it is over. Our marriage ends tonight. I want a divorce. You cannot be serious. Michael, think about it. Yes, I made mistakes, but we can fix it. We can. Fix what? Michael laughed bitterly. Fix that. You never loved me. Fix a year of deceit. Fix that you plan to steal from my mother and abandon me. There is nothing to fix. Jessica, there was never anything real to save. If you do this, you will regret it. Adrian will not leave his wife for me. I will be left alone with nothing. Is that what you want? Those are the consequences of your decisions. Not mine, said Michael. I did not make you cheat. I did not ask you to lie and manipulate. You chose all of that. Your mother brainwashed you. Jessica pointed at me with an accusing finger. She planned all this. She hired that investigator, compiled this information, chose this night specifically to destroy me. She is a vengeful manipulator. You are right about one thing, I said quietly. I planned this carefully. I hired the investigator. I gathered the evidence. I chose Christmas Eve because I knew it would be memorable. And do you know why? Because my son deserved to know the truth. He deserved to see exactly who you were before you destroyed him completely. This is a show, Jessica shook her head. A pathetic drama from a bored old woman who has nothing better to do than ruin marriages. You ruined your marriage, I said with a voice of steel. The moment you decided to sleep with another man, the moment you decided to lie and steal, I just brought the truth to light. Jessica took her new handbag from the sofa with trembling hands, her face a mask of barely contained fury. Fine, perfect. If that is how you want it, then that is how it will be. I do not need this. I do not need either of you. Adrian will take care of me. He knows how to value a real woman. Adrian. I pulled one last document from the envelope. Oh, my dear, I have news for you about your wonderful Adrian. I passed her the paper. This is an excerpt from a conversation he had with a friend of his, a conversation my investigator managed to record discreetly at a bar last week. Jessica read the document with eyes growing wider. I heard her gasp as her fingers tightened on the paper until it crumpled. What does it say? Asked Michael. Jessica did not answer. I answered for her. Adrian told his friend about his affair. He said you are beautiful but desperate for money, that you are fun to pass the time, but that he would never leave his wife for you, that you have a foolish husband who knows nothing, and that makes everything more exciting, and that once you get tired or become too demanding, he will simply cut you off and find a new distraction. Jessica was pale as a ghost. That is a lie. He loves me. He told me so. Men like Adrian say that to all their mistresses, I said with something that could almost be compassion. You thought you were special, that you would leave Michael take your money from the sale of my house and live happily ever after with your rich businessman. But he never had those plans. To him you are just an expensive toy he will eventually discard. No. Jessica shook her head violently. No, this is another manipulation of yours. You are inventing all this. The audio is on the USB drive that comes with that document I pointed out. You can listen to it yourself, every word, every laugh while he described your relationship as his fun little secret. Jessica dropped the paper. Her legs seemed not to hold her, and she let herself fall into a chair. For the first time that night, I saw something genuine on her face. It was not regret or shame. It was pure devastation. Her perfect plan, her golden exit, everything had crumbled. All this was for nothing, she murmured. It was all for nothing. Not for nothing, I said firmly. It was for greed, for selfishness, for a lack of values. And now you are reaping what you sowed. Michael looked at Jessica with a mixture of pain and disgust. I want you to leave. Tonight, pack your things and get out of the apartment. Where am I supposed to go? Asked Jessica, and for the first time her voice sounded small. Scared. That is not my problem. Call Adrian, or call your parents, or find a hotel. I do not care. But you are not sleeping another night under my roof. Michael, please. We can talk about this tomorrow when we are calmer. There is nothing more to talk about. Tomorrow I will contact a divorce lawyer. I want this to end as quickly as possible. Jessica turned to me desperate. Evelyn, please tell him to calm down. I know you hate me, but do not let him do something he will regret. The only regret I have said, Michael, before I could answer, is having met you, is having brought you into my mother's life, is having been so blind for so long. I have nothing to say to you, I added with an icy voice. You made your bed, now lie in it. My son deserves much better than you. Jessica looked at us both, looking for some sign of weakness, some crack in our determination. She found none. Slowly, she stood up. Her expensive coral dress, her perfect hair, her flawless makeup, everything looked like a costume now. A mask that had finally been ripped off. "I regret marrying you," she told Michael, her voice full of venom. "I regret every day I spent pretending your company was tolerable. And you," she looked at me, "go to hell, bitter old woman. I hope your house and your memories keep you warm at night, because that is all you will have." "Leave," said Michael simply. Jessica took her coat and her new handbag, the one I had given her barely an hour ago when she still pretended tonight would be a celebration. She walked to the door with stiff steps. Before leaving, she turned one last time. "Someday, Michael, when you are alone and miserable, you will realize you made a mistake. And by then, it will be too late. The only mistake I made," said Michael with a firm voice, "was not seeing this sooner. Now leave." Jessica left, slamming the door. The sound resonated through the whole house. Then came the silence, a dense, heavy silence full of unprocessed emotions. Michael stood in the middle of the dining room looking at the photographs and documents scattered on the table. Slowly, his legs gave way, and he sat down, burying his face in his hands. 3 years, he whispered between sobs. 3 years of my life with someone who just used me. I approached and put my hand on his shoulder. "I am sorry, son. I am sorry you had to go through this. You tried to warn me, right? In the beginning, subtly, but I did not want to listen. You were in love, or you thought you were. It is not your fault for trusting the person you married. I feel so stupid, Mom, so incredibly stupid. She was right. I am manipulatable. I let her control me, push me away from you, convince me to try to take your house." He looked at me with red and swollen eyes. "Can you forgive me for that? For pressuring you? For making you feel you should give me your home?" "You are already forgiven," I said softly, sitting beside him. "I knew those were not your true feelings. I knew she was manipulating you. That is why I investigated. That is why I gathered the evidence, to free you from her. You should have told me sooner. Would you have believed me without proof? Or would you have thought I was the manipulator, the jealous mother-in-law trying to separate you from your wife?" Michael considered this, and then nodded slowly. "I probably would have taken her side. That is how blind I was. That is why I waited. That is why I did it this way. You needed to see the irrefutable evidence. You needed to hear her admit it with her own words. The way she spoke about you, Mom, the horrible things she said." New tears ran down his face. "And I let her. For months I let her treat you poorly, make cruel comments, pressure you about the house." "I am just as guilty as she is." "No, you are not. You were a victim of her manipulations just as much as I was. The difference is she had you closer. She had more influence over you. But I am an adult. I should have seen it. I should have defended my own mother." "Michael, look at me." I took his face in my hands like when he was a child. "This is not your fault. Manipulative people are experts at what they do. They know exactly what buttons to push, what words to say, how to present things to get what they want. Jessica studied. You learned your weak points and exploited them without mercy. How could you forgive me so easily when I pressured you for the house because you are my son? Because I know you. I knew those were not your true words. They were hers. They just came out of your mouth." Michael hugged me, then crying on my shoulder like he had not done since he was a teenager. I held him, caressing his hair, letting him release 3 years of pain, manipulation, and lies. "I'm going to be okay, Mom. I'm going to get through this. I know. You are strong, stronger than you think. But now I have to face everything. The divorce dividing things. She will probably try to get money from me." "About that," I said, pulling away a little. "There is something else I need to tell you. More, I do not know if I can handle more revelations tonight. These are good news, or at least protective news." I pulled the trust documents from my purse. 2 weeks ago, I put the house in an irrevocable trust in my name. No one can touch it while I live. Not even I can sell it now without complex legal procedures. Michael took the documents with trembling hands, reading them slowly. "You protected the house. Before all this." When the pressure started, when I saw the direction things were taking, I knew I needed to protect my home. Not just from Jessica, but from any possible legal manipulation she might attempt. I consulted with Mr. Leonard Vance, a lawyer specializing in estate planning. So even if I had kept pressuring you, even if Jessica had convinced me to try something legally, it would have been impossible. The house is armored, and there is more. I showed him the specific clauses of the will. After my death, the house passes to you automatically. But I added conditions. If you ever tried to claim it while I was alive, if you tried to force me legally or emotionally to leave it, you would lose all right to it, and the property would be donated to a charity foundation. Michael looked at me with eyes full of new tears. You thought of everything. I had to, not just to protect myself, but to protect you too. If Jessica had managed to get the house, they would have sold it, taken the money, and she would have left you with nothing. Now, even if she tries something in the divorce, she cannot touch the house because legally it does not exist as a marital asset. You are brilliant, Mom, and I was a fool to pressure you. You were not a fool. You were a son who believed in his wife. That does not make you a fool. It makes you human. We sat in silence for a moment, processing everything that had happened. The Christmas dinner I had prepared with so much care was still on the table, cold now, mostly untouched. The fine china plates reflected the light of the candles that were still burning. All that effort for a night that had turned into a pitched battle. What do I do now? Asked Michael finally. Tomorrow is Christmas. I should be celebrating, and instead my marriage is destroyed. Tomorrow you start rebuilding your life. Today rest. You can stay here tonight if you want. Your room is still the same as when you were a child. Michael looked toward the stairs, toward the room where he had grown up. Really, I never changed anything. I always thought maybe someday you would have children and they would want to see where their father grew up. Your superhero posters are still on the walls, your books on the shelf. A small, sad smile appeared on his face. I would like to stay. I cannot face that apartment tonight, not after all this. Then stay. This is your house as much as mine. It always has been. Michael went up to change. I stayed in the dining room, slowly gathering all the photographs, the documents, the evidence of Jessica's betrayal. I kept them carefully in the envelope. These would be important for the divorce, irrefutable evidence that no lawyer could dispute. When Michael came down, he was wearing an old t-shirt he found in his closet sweatpants. He looked young again, vulnerable. He helped me clean up the remains of the dinner. We worked in silence, a comfortable, familiar silence, like when he was a teenager and helped me after family dinners. How much did the car cost you? He asked suddenly while we were washing the dishes. $28,000. It was most of my savings. Mom, you should not have done that. It is too much money. I wanted to give you something special, something that showed how much I love you despite everything that has happened between us these months. I wanted you to know that no matter what, you will always be my priority. And I was pressuring you for your house while you spent your savings on me. He closed his eyes with pain. I do not deserve that car. Of course you deserve it. You deserve to be loved unconditionally, something Jessica never gave you. Why did you buy the handbag for her too after everything she had done? Because at that moment, I had not revealed everything yet, and I wanted the contrast to be clear. You gave me nothing deliberately as a lesson. I gave you everything I could. I wanted that moment when she declared you would not give me gifts to be as shocking as possible before revealing the truth. Always thinking several steps ahead. I had to. It was the only way to win against someone like Jessica. We finished cleaning around midnight. The house was silent, tidy, as if the explosion of that night had never occurred. But we both knew everything had changed. Forever. Mom, there is something else I need to tell you, said Michael, as we sat in the warm living room. These last few months, the things I said to you, the way I treated you, it has no excuse. Even if Jessica was manipulating me, I chose to say those words. I chose to push you away. I chose to pressure you about the house even when I knew I was hurting you. I already told you that you are forgiven, but I need you to understand that I am deeply sorry, looking you in the eye and telling you that you were selfish for wanting to keep your own house, calling you less important than my marriage, leaving you waiting for my calls, all that was cruel, and I am sorry more than words can express. Michael, look at me. I waited until his eyes found mine. I forgive you, completely, without conditions. What matters now is the future, not the past. How can you be so generous after everything? Because you are my son. Because a mother's love does not break over a few difficult months. Because I know who you really are, and it is not the person Jessica made you be temporarily. We drank our tea in silence. Outside it began to snow lightly, white flakes falling softly covering the world in a clean blanket, as if the universe were offering a new beginning. "Tomorrow I have to go to the apartment," said Michael. "Pick up my things. I do not know if Jessica will have packed her things and left, or if she will be there waiting to fight more. I want you to take copies of all the evidence with you just in case she tries something, and consider changing the locks immediately. I already thought about it. I will call a locksmith early tomorrow and contact a lawyer on the 26th. Mr. Vance can recommend good divorce lawyers, men and women who have handled complicated cases with manipulative spouses." "Thanks, Mom, for everything. For investigating, for protecting the house, for protecting me. I do not know what I would have done without you. You would have found a way. You are stronger than you think. But I am glad I could help." That night, Michael slept in his old room. I stayed awake a while longer, sitting on my bed, processing everything that had happened. I had planned this revelation for weeks, but the reality had been more intense than I imagined. Seeing the pain in my son's eyes when he discovered the betrayal, hearing Jessica admit everything without remorse, witnessing the collapse of a marriage in real time. But it had also been liberating. For the first time in months, my son was under my roof, safe, protected from manipulation. The truth had come to light. The lies had been exposed. And although the path forward would be difficult, at least now we were walking it together, not separated by the manipulations of an unscrupulous woman. I fell asleep around 3 a.m, exhausted but at peace. I had done the right thing. I had protected my son in the best way I knew how, and although it had been brutal, it had been necessary. Christmas morning dawned bright and cold. I got up early and prepared Michael's favorite breakfast: pancakes with honey, crispy bacon, scrambled eggs, fresh orange juice. When he came down with swollen eyes but a calmer expression, he smiled, seeing the table. Like in the old days. Exactly like in the old days. We ate together, talking about simple things. We avoided mentioning Jessica or the divorce. It was Christmas, and we deserved a few hours of peace before facing reality again. After breakfast, Michael helped me decorate the tree I had left half done. We put up every ornament with care, remembering stories of past Christmases. He found the ornament he had made in preschool, a papier-mâché star painted bright yellow. "I cannot believe you still have this. I have every ornament you made since you were 3 years old, every drawing, every Mother's Day card, every school project. Everything is stored in boxes in the attic. You are sentimental. I am a mother." Around noon, Michael's phone began to ring. It was Jessica. He looked at the screen and then at me. "I will answer. It is your decision." He answered, putting it on speaker. "What do you want, Jessica?" "Michael, please, we need to talk. I am in a hotel. I have nowhere to go. My family is in another state and I cannot get there until tomorrow. That is not my problem. Please just listen to me for 5 minutes. I made mistakes, I admit it, but we can overcome them. We can go to therapy. There is nothing to overcome, Jessica. You cheated on me for a whole year. You planned to steal from my mother. You used me. That is not fixed with therapy. Michael, please." I was confused, scared. Adrian manipulated me too. He made me believe he loved me, that he would leave his wife. I was a victim as much as you. Michael looked at me and shook his head in disbelief. "Now you are the victim." "Incredible." "I am. Please just let me go back to the apartment. We can talk calmly, without your mother interfering." "My mother is not interfering. My mother saved me from continuing to live a lie. And no, you cannot return to the apartment. A locksmith is coming today to change all the locks." There was silence on the other end. Then Jessica's voice changed, becoming hard again. "Fine. If that is how you want to play, I will play too. My lawyer is going to ask for half of everything. The apartment, the furniture, your savings, everything. And I am going to ask for spousal support. Go ahead. I have photographic and video evidence of your infidelity. Messages from you planning to steal and abandon me. No judge will give you anything. In fact, I will probably end up with everything. This is not over, Michael. I am going to fight. Fight all you want. You already lost." Michael hung up. He stood looking at the phone, breathing deeply. "Do you think she will really try to fight in the divorce? She can try. But with all the evidence we have, she will not get very far. Any decent lawyer will tell her she has no case. I hope you are right." The following days were a whirlwind. Michael contacted the lawyer recommended by Mr. Vance, a man named Henry Solis, specialized in complicated divorces. He showed him all the evidence, and Henry smiled. "This is the easiest divorce case I have seen in years. She has no legal basis to claim anything. The infidelity is documented. The manipulation is proven. We even have evidence she planned to commit fraud against your mother. This will be resolved in 3 months, Max." And so it was. Jessica hired a lawyer, but when he saw the mountain of evidence, he advised her to accept a quick settlement. Michael kept the apartment, the furniture, his savings. Jessica left with her clothes and her designer handbags. Nothing else. She did not even ask for alimony when her lawyer explained that a judge would likely reject it given the evidence of infidelity. The divorce was finalized in February. Michael arrived at my house that afternoon with a bottle of sparkling wine. "It is official. I am free." We toasted in the kitchen, the same kitchen where months ago I had planned Jessica's exposure. "How do you feel?" "Relieved. Sad for the lost time, but relieved it is over, and surprised at how fast it was. When the truth is on your side, things tend to resolve quickly." In the following weeks, Michael began to rebuild his life. He resumed hobbies he had abandoned during his marriage. He started going to the gym, reconnected with friends Jessica had subtly pushed out of his life, and he visited me 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes just for dinner, sometimes to spend the weekend. "It is strange," he told me one Sunday while we drank coffee in my garden. "For 3 years, Jessica made me believe that spending time with you was an obligation, something I did out of duty. Now I realize how much I enjoyed these visits, how much I missed you all those months. I missed you too, son. Did you ever hear from Jessica?" "What happened to her?" Hank the investigator kept me informed out of professional curiosity. "Adrian cut her off completely after he found out about the divorce. He did not want drama near his family. She tried to contact him, but he blocked all her numbers. And where is she now?" "She went back to her parents in another state. From what I heard, she is working in a normal clothing store, nothing fancy. Her parents took away all the expensive things Adrian had given her and sold them to pay her debts. Apparently she had been using credit cards in your name that you did not know about." Michael sighed. "I am not surprised, but it is my lawyer's problem to recover that money, not mine." "Exactly. You focus on your future, not her past." By April, Michael met someone new, Sarah, a fellow engineer from his company. He introduced her to me one day, nervous but excited. She was different from Jessica in every way. No excessive makeup, no designer clothes, no pretensions. Genuine smile, warm eyes, intelligent conversation. "It is a pleasure to meet you, Mrs. Evelyn. Michael talks a lot about you. Good things, I hope. Only wonderful things. He told me everything you did for him. It is admirable." During dinner, I watched Michael with Sarah. The way he looked at her was different. There was none of the desperation to please that he had with Jessica. Only genuine warmth, respect, friendship, mixed with affection. It was what love should be. After they left, I sat in my living room, looking at the family photographs on the walls. My husband Michael as a child, moments captured of a life well lived. And I thought about everything that had happened. The months of manipulation, the pain of seeing my son drift away, the decision to investigate the Christmas Eve confrontation. It had been brutal, it had been necessary, and it had been worth it. My house was still mine, legally protected forever. My son had escaped a toxic marriage before it destroyed him completely, and our relationship had not only been saved, it had been strengthened. 6 months after that Christmas Eve, Michael invited me to dinner. When I arrived at his apartment freshly decorated with his own style without traces of Jessica, I found Sarah helping him in the kitchen. They prepared my favorite food, working together with the ease of 2 people who genuinely enjoyed each other's company. "Mom, we wanted to tell you something," began Michael, after dinner taking Sarah's hand. "Sarah and I have been talking about the future. Nothing immediate, but we want you to know this is serious. I am very happy to hear that. And we wanted your blessing. I know it is soon after the divorce, but Sarah is different. She is real. She is everything Jessica never was. I looked at Sarah, who looked at me with genuine hope and respect. You have my blessing and my welcome to this family. That night, driving back home, I reflected on how life takes strange turns. That Christmas Eve had been the hardest moment of my recent life. Exposing Jessica, seeing Michael's pain, facing the collapse of his marriage. But it had been the necessary catalyst for everything to get better. Sometimes love requires difficult decisions. It requires protecting those we love even when it hurts. It requires telling the truth even when it is brutal. And it requires standing firm in what is right, regardless of the pressure. That night, when I pulled that envelope from my purse and said, "I have one more gift for you," I changed the course of our lives. Not with more manipulation or lies, but with the pure and irrefutable truth. And that truth, however painful it was, had freed us all. My house remains my sanctuary, full of memories, and now with new stories. Michael visits me regularly. Brings Sarah, they plan their future together. And I, at 66, learned that it is never too late to fight for what is yours, to protect who you love, and to stand firm against injustice. That Christmas Eve, when Michael declared there would be no gifts to teach me a lesson, he did not know that the true lesson would be received by him. The lesson that actions have consequences, that the truth always comes to light, and that a mother's true love never gives up.